This is John Zaninovich. Welcome to Move My Mass. You'll be hearing from great guests talk about balancing life and being fit. Hey, Kyli. Welcome to Move My Mass. It's been exciting to have you on. Looking forward to it.
Hello, John. It's exciting to be here.
I know. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Kids are outside watching cartoons right now as we chit chat. So that's nice to see them again. But, I was telling Tammy, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to have Kyli on. And I'm like, it's perfect. She owns a dance studio, Dancers Turnout. She's extremely fit, dances. She goes, don't forget, she was a San Diego cheerleader, which I completely forgot all about that. So that's pretty juicy. So let's start there. How did you get into, assume you went through the normal, high school cheerleader, I guess, or how did it all happen?
Oh gosh. Well, I've been dancing pretty much my whole life. I started, my older sister danced. Oh gosh. I think she started maybe at like age 8. And I was shortly after her. It was mostly my mom. It was just an activity, something fun and exciting to do for us. And I was kind of finicky at first, and, I would do it a year, have some fun, try something else. And then I went back, and I would say probably about age 12, I got pretty serious with it. I really loved it and started competitive dancing. So from then, we started competitive dancing in Bakersfield. I trained in Bakersfield. And then I did cheerleading in high school. And after I graduated from college, I moved to San Diego. And where'd
you go to college?
Cal State Bakersfield.
Okay.
So I went to Cal State Bakersfield and moved to San Diego and decided to continue my dance career. I got hired as a choreographer and a competitive director at a studio in San Diego. And from there, I saw that there was Charger Girl auditions and decided to go with it, and try it. And it worked out and was amazing. It was absolutely one of the most amazing things I've done, for sure.
Am I using the right term, cheerleader, or is there
they call it a San Diego Charger Girl is what they label it in San Diego. But it is a cheerleader. It's a dancer cheerleader.
Okay.
Lots of dance moves with palms, basically.
Right.
So
how long did you do that for?
I did it for one season. I did it for one season. And then actually I bought my dance studio in Bakersfield. And so I kind of hung it up and moved back to Bakersfield. I was only in San Diego 3 years. So I auditioned about a year and a half after I moved there. So there's an auditioning process, and then you're a cheerleader for a season. So I did it for a full season, basically.
And what did you most enjoy about that season? What was the best part?
I would honestly say the networking, the friendships. 23 years old in San Diego, and I was working full time. Met so many amazing people, many people that had such an impact on even the direction that I took my life, which is really cool. And there's some perks that come with it too.
Right. Oh,
so you got a lot of perks as a young woman, and then the games, they were exciting and so fun. And if you love dancing, performing is a huge part of it, so performing in front of so many people. And then, like I said, the networking, meeting so many amazing people. There were it really did connect me into, now that I have a dance studio, just all the connections that I even have today are really amazing. Right. You realize just that one season of meeting so many people. So
yeah, because I hear so many stories about, they treat you so horribly, or the other spectrum. Yeah, no, it's the best thing I've ever done. Had a blast. Here you are, you're face to face. What is it? Was it, if a young girl came to you and said, I want to be a cheerleader for a pro sports team?
I would encourage her.
Yes.
With that being said, you don't make a ton of money. I had a college degree, so I was working full-time in marketing, actually.
Yeah.
I was also running a competitive dance team at a dance studio. But they're perks like, well, in nightlife, you make a lot of extra money with promotions that you're hired to do.
Yeah.
You get free tickets, you're in with the season. So I don't feel like, my experience was we were treated very well. Just the pay, I feel like is not, you're not doing it to make a living. You definitely have to be working full time. Like I said, the other perks were pretty amazing for the age I was, for the time period it was, and for the networking I made. I couldn't have asked for more, at that time. So, but no, I do. I've heard both. I've heard, there's so many things, going on, and there's in the world just in general. And then, you hear that they're treated poorly. I think it depends who's the coaches at the time. I think it depends who's running the program, who you're cheering for, but overall monetarily, like I don't, you don't get paid
a lot.
No, for the time and the image that you're presenting for the company and, for the effort you put in to do it.
Yeah.
It's not a ton of money, but there are perks, and I appreciate the experience for sure.
Right. So was being a dancer for them inspiration for your dance studio, or was that separate? How did your dance studio come about?
Those were pretty separate. I did always love dancing and performing. It was on my mind to open a dance studio. A woman in San Diego had asked me if I would be interested in going into partnership with her. And this was a franchise dance studio in San Diego. So it was on my mind, but the two were very separate at the time. It wasn't until a woman that I had known for years that I actually trained under had contacted me. She had reached out. Her daughter had come to San Diego and taught a master class at the studio that I was teaching at.
Okay.
And she had reached out and just, expressed her interest in selling her studio. She wanted to go travel to see her daughter perform. And so then it was really, like, okay, I think this is something I'm going to do for a career. I think I'm going to do this.
Right.
But I think the two were pretty separate. The Charger Girls was like really, it was, I'd say it was pretty much for myself just to do it. Just, I wanted to take dance, to a further level experience, and then just see if I could do it, see if I could accomplish it, and so I would say kind of separate, but
right.
But they're so intertwined. You know what I mean? Like dance is just such a huge part of my life. It's been for so long that it wasn't surprising that the studio did come about because I was still so intertwined in the dance world.
How did you end up on deciding what type of dance studio you wanted to run? There's so many styles of dance.
Right.
How did you end up there with your product?
I do think it had a lot to do with how I was raised dancing, the kind of dancing that I was exposed to. I did see several different dance studios down south, just by doing conventions or traveling to other studios and by working at another dance studio in San Diego. I knew that I wanted a multiple genre dance studio, not just ballet based or just hip hop based or I had been exposed to so many different styles of dance that I loved. So I definitely wanted to, have a broad range in my own dance studio.
Right.
So that definitely set the tone for when we were opening. We're definitely going to, offer ballet, but tap, jazz, contemporary, hip hop, all the styles too. So I think that it was huge on the way I was trained, but definitely seeing and traveling and kind of seeing what impacted me as a young dancer. And I wanted something where they could really, if they didn't want to be a professional ballerina, they could, maybe just study tap or they could just do jazz, if they wanted to. Not everybody wants to take it to a professional level.
Right.
And really dancing has so many benefits and perks. It's not only, a skill that you can learn, but it's great exercise too. So it's kind of
and for men
fun,
and women, it helps across the board on almost all sports.
Right.
If you're in it.
Right.
What's your favorite dance style to teach?
I would have to say jazz.
Mm-hmm.
Jazz would be my favorite style. I love the upbeat performance style.
And is it also same to perform? Like same to teach and same to dance?
Yeah, I actually would say that. Right. I would say that like a jazz funk or a jazz hip hop, upbeat.
Right.
I definitely tended to gravitate more towards that. Not to say that when I see like a beautiful ballet or if I see, a lyrical or something intense and emotional that I don't absolutely love it, because I do.
Yeah.
I just think teaching wise, when you get the room pumped up and you get going and, it says something. It's like it's a feeling in the room too. It's just good energy,
Yeah. What about age? What's your favorite age group to teach?
I would say the sweet spot would probably be like age 10. They're still really
sweet,
really sweet and really respectful. They're pleasers still, but the skill level is starting to really increase at that age. They're not distracted by, when you get to junior high or high school as a girl or a boy and you start noticing other things. So
I know when I used to watch my daughter dance, I used to go, I'm like, how do they teach these kids who seem like they got the attention span of a gnat, but maybe they don't, just like, how do they, because I would go to dance a lot, but I wouldn't see the step by step.
Right.
I would just go and say, okay, they're rehearsing, but you can't hear what the teacher's saying. You can just see what they're doing. I'm like, how are they doing that? And then I went on Dancing with the Stars here in,
oh my gosh,
Dancing at the Stars.
Yes, I love
here in Bakersfield. And so I got to see how they teach somebody to dance from beginning to end. I'm like, okay. Because you watch like the really good, anybody that's doing a more difficult number, a longer number with a lot of moves. I'm like, how do they remember all that? Like, how do they present it? And then it's just broken down, which it makes sense. It does. But until you go through it, because watching it, you just watch, you go to rehearsal, and then you go to the show, and then you see the whole thing. I'm like, wait a minute. I watched my daughter rehearse all this. I still don't see how they went from that to that. Yeah. Props to you, studio owners that deal with, how many kids do you have in your studio?
We have, I would say,
maybe not today.
Yeah, I would say after COVID, like not average year, probably about 250 dancers.
I can't even begin to wrap my. And do you have somebody there that schedules all that for you? Like, okay, here's the class schedule, or are you doing that?
Well, I make the class schedule, but we have several other coaches that coach at the studio too. So, they put in their schedule or their availability, and then I do mine, and we just coordinate a schedule based on days and times and what's best for our clients or what we've seen as the best trend. So I've always wondered how studios deal with the challenging parents. You don't have any, right? We have all amazing parents at Dancers Turnout.
Yeah, I don't care what it is. A sport. I mean, dancing is a sport.
In all honesty, at the end of the day, I feel like we all have to remember we're paying, people are paying us for a service. So we always keep that in mind at the forefront of our, of our decision making and our trying to have resolutions for everything, it's not always 100% a perfect fit, for everybody. But at the end of the day, we want to provide the best customer service and the best experience and service we can. And that's all you can do is just keep learning and trying to make it better. But there's always going to be, there are challenges. I mean, when you think about it, you're working with people's children. So I feel like anytime there's, and I see it more now as a mom myself. When you're so involved in your children's lives and like what they're learning and what they're doing, you just have to trust the training. If you're going to train somewhere, you trust the training. And if you have a concern, you express it and you're just, upfront and honest about it. And you try to come up with a resolution and hopefully you do. And if not, then that's where you make some kind of change or, but really, I mean, overall, I would say it's way more positive than not, but there's always, and kids will be kids too. You can have amazing classroom control and 99% amazing kids in your class. And, you can get a runner or you can get it
Right.
happens. It's like, that's real life, and you just, you deal with it as it comes and you learn over time, you get wiser and you get a little bit more strategic with your classroom formats and your incentives. And,
Right.
And
you start to figure it out.
We're blessed to have some patient coaches too.
Yeah. How big are your classes or were they,
I would say average size, even today, is probably 10 in a class.
Yeah, that's pretty easy to handle, I guess.
It's very easy to handle. I would say overall, very successful, really enjoyable classes to teach. Some of them are older, high school classes, we could fit 25 in a room. We're a little bit lower now in size because of, COVID and that kind of thing. But on average, I'd say anywhere between 10 and 20 in a class, depending on the age.
So as you started out, like, okay, my goal is to open a studio. That's what I want to do. I want it to be these classes, this dance style. What did you not foresee? Or what's the challenge? You're like, man, I didn't really think about that. And how are you conquering it?
How absolutely intertwined you are with your company and your brand. You can keep them separate, but at the end of the day, it's always going to be your head on the chopping block. You know what I mean? If it's your studio. So really, even if there's any kind of situation, you're ultimately responsible, so you just have to be careful with, just even, staffing and trust in staff and staff training. And, it comes with a lot more than in your mind. You think, I'm going to open this dance studio. We're going to teach these dancers, which all is real, and it'll be amazing. But there's a lot of bodies, there's a lot of moving parts, there's a lot of personalities, there's a lot of people, opinionated people. And you love that because you want feedback and opinions, but it was a learning and a growing experience for sure. You didn't really, in my mind, I didn't realize that at the end of the day, no matter what, that brand is you and you are that brand. So that was a learning experience to kind of, just make sure that, whoever's working, for the studio, whoever's, training, that it's, it's the caliber and you're presenting, you're just very intertwined, you know?
And it's probably also goes with how you are just out socially. Like they know you as Kyli Delis, owner of Dancers Turnout. You have to be, well, you're not, it's not that you're faking it because that's your background. That's your thing.
Absolutely.
But you still have to probably, this is who I am and this is what my brand is.
Right. Yes. Be mindful all the time, and even with coaches and moving bodies and stuff too. I think you just, as a young woman, you just have this, I'll open up the studio and this is how it will be. And overall, it kind of is like that, but it's just, you don't realize there's just so many more moving parts than that, setting boundaries and setting, times for your phone. Even then, still today, I'm like, we're dancers. We don't get off sometimes till 9:30 or 10 o'clock. And so we're in bed by 11. And then once somebody's thought about something, they're texting at 11:30 or midnight. And it's like, then we're up by 6:30 to get the kids to school. So it's like, it's a learning experience all the time. So
it's nice that you're mentioning how busy you are taking text or calls or scheduling and going to bed late, getting up early.
Mm-hmm.
How do you fit your workout in? How do you fit your fitness life into your crazy schedule, owning a business, scheduling other people's lives, running, scheduling your kids? Do you just use your teaching of dance classes as your workout, or do you do other things?
I do. I do both. I do feel like moving around a lot at the dance studio, it does keep, me active and keeps me engaged and good calorie burning. But I do try to get in a separate workout at least, 2 to 3 times a week.
Yeah.
At least 20 or 30 minutes of treadmill, or we'll go on a bike ride.
Yeah.
I do level fitness a couple days a week just to try something, for myself. And it's tricky. It's definitely a matrix of when you can, fit it in or make it work. Obviously, like dancing, I would ideally, I would prefer to do a dance class. I feel like at an adult level, though, that's so much more minimal, what is offered and what's out there. And it really is different teaching dance to children or to somebody else than actually going in and engaging in your own class,
Yeah.
So,
and it's funny you mentioned that about minimal offers out there. It's just the demand isn't there from the adult world to go take dance classes.
It's like you would think it is.
Right.
I know so many people that I feel like really enjoy dancing and that really express interest in it. I think it's more the consistency. A lot of people are apprehensive to open up a class on a weekly basis, just because it's kind of a hit and a miss with adults. Because usually it's an elective or like a leisurely thing that they're doing for extra. So as soon as something comes up, it's the first to go.
Yeah.
But really, there's not a huge, if you drive down south, there's classes, strictly structured for adults, adult training, just not as much. And you would think owning a dance studio, we would like specifically have that. Right. I think after all the hours of teaching and your appointments and you're engaged and you're there, a kind of a timeout away from where you're working at is kind of good, Not to say that we don't love it when it does happen.
Right.
But yeah, I do try to get in a couple, days a week on the side of at least some cardio and a level fitness or two. That's about where I'm at right now. The dancing I feel like does help, but it's different. It's not training for me. It's keeping me busy and moving, but it's not for me.
You actually work out. Right.
Yeah. So I think it's healthy. I'm moving, I'm doing stuff, I'm burning calories, but I'm not doing it for myself. So it's a little mix of both.
And what it seems like is so untapped out there are dance classes for the student athlete, especially football players, basketball players, lacrosse. Those sports, I'm sure it benefits every sport. But watching these kids, when my daughter was dancing, I'm like, athletes should be in here taking dance classes.
The coordination and the hand-eye.
Oh, yeah.
The feet-eye, the footwork, just all of it. I feel like it really could make a difference, a huge difference.
I'm tripping over my feet when I dance, but I'm not a horrible athlete.
I doubt it.
And then it's so untapped. If they would ever figure that one out.
I know.
I remember as a kid, I'm an old man, but as a kid talking about like wide receivers taking ballet classes. And as a kid, I'm like, how much can that really help? Of course, just a regular young macho kid. Of course, I'm not going to think, no way.
And that's another thing too. I feel like it's a little taboo, and it's so not. They're like, oh, boys take ballet. Like, yeah, they do. It's actually amazing coordination and even just amazing for the body too. Like, it's a win-win if you ask me,
For sure. Is that something is it even available to go out and pursue? Like reach out to these? Or is it that taboo still?
No, I don't think it is. There's so many boys that dance now. I don't think it's necessarily taboo. I think that...
and it doesn't even have to be the boys. I mean, girls.
Even girls too,
basketball, right? All that. Girls lacrosse or other things.
I think that what happens is dance owners or coaches become so invested in their own studio and with their competitive teams.
Oh yeah.
And if I were going to do something else, I've thought about Bakersfield, why does Bakersfield not have any high school dance teams?
Right.
Competitive dance teams. Right. I think Garces is kind of a little bit dipping into that, but
yeah, they do now.
Other than that, there's, even myself growing up, we had cheerleading. It was competitive cheer, but in San Diego, there were so many competitive high schools.
Yeah.
And that was the big thing. If you were on the high school dance team, it was kind of like cheerleading was in Bakersfield. So I feel like that would be something that I would want to tap into a little bit, in the high school. But certainly, with boys or girls, athletes dancing in general, that would be a perk for.
Right.
There has to be a market for. I just think that that's what happens is dance studios get so you're so busy with your program and your competitive teams and stuff.
Yeah,
they just don't, unless somebody specifically recruits an owner or a coach to go train their athletes.
Yeah.
I haven't personally seen the programs going, but it's such a.
Well, it cracks me up with male cheerleaders. of course, I was a typical male, make fun of them when I was younger.
Oh my
and then
gosh.
I'm thinking, wait a minute, who is smarter than who?
Right. No, yeah.
who had this figured out before somebody else
Right.
did?
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, it would certainly be nice to see all that develop. And, to go back to your crazy busy day, what is a normal day for you? What's a typical weekday? How do you get it all in?
Well, I would say a typical weekday, I have my weekly appointments for the studio. Those are set and they rarely change unless we have to reschedule something. So I have my classes I teach, and then I have all my private lessons. So those are already scheduled on the books weekly. And then it's juggling in the kids, with their school, the days that they're home from school, their activities. And then trying to get my own personal workouts kind of intertwined in that. So
yeah.
It's a little bit of a juggling match every week, but we're making do.
Where on the priority level do you put your workout?
It's high up there, but it's definitely not in the top 3.
Right. That's as high as it can climb.
That's as high
there's
as
a ceiling
there's a ceiling, and so it caps out. And it's especially with the kids home more with, the whole COVID and, homeschooling. And, thankfully at St. Francis, they're back and they're in person and they're learning, but they do have a cleaning day on Wednesdays. And then Charlotte's on the off days of Peter, she's home Tuesday, Thursday, and then he's home Wednesday for homeschool. So it kind of makes the week tricky, when, you're home in the day with the kids. And then I work typically afternoon hours. I usually go in 1 to 9-ish on the days I go in. So once I'm there, it's a pretty stout day. Yeah. But I stack my days so that I can have the later days in the week off and be home with the kids. So it's definitely it's a pretty busy day. It's Monday through Wednesday are definitely, it's like a running match, between school, work, workouts, and just trying to survive until 9:30 with energy. Right. It's energy.
What's your approach to nutrition as busy as you are? Are you a meal prepper, or are you just super conscious about it and watch what you're doing?
I am not a meal prepper, but that's something that I've kind of tapped into a little bit lately that I've been thinking maybe that might help. And it's not so much I do try to eat decent. It's not so much, it's just on the go. The options that you have really quick and you do feel better when you eat better. So for me, I felt in the recent years, I would say in the last, 4 or 5 years, really you do feel different regarding what you put in your mouth. So
yeah, it's so true.
I would like to tap more into meal prepping. I don't right now. I just try to make wise choices, and usually breakfast, it's easy. I'll do an egg and I have a banana and then it leads into lunch and I'll grab a salad or something before I go into work. And then I have snacks. It's the dinner part that's tricky because I'm, Uber eating something to the studio or I'm running through a quick drive-through. And so it's what are my options as a drive-through,
Yeah.
Or I'll luckily, have somebody bring me a little meal at the studio and that's always amazing too, but that's not every night. So it's just, it's choices, it's decisions of what I decide, what's the healthiest choice. But meal prepping is definitely, I need to visit it, I think.
Yeah. When my schedule's super busy, during season and stuff, it's amazing what changes in my mind wasn't healthy when I had plenty of time is now. All right, decent. You know what? That's borderline healthy. I can order that off the fast food menu.
Yes.
It's I'm going to justify that one.
It's
the healthiest option I can pick.
I mean, and you only have so many options, so.
Yeah, because I just can't do them. I can't stay consistent with meal prepping.
That's the thing. I haven't even really started. I've done it years back. I kind of tried it I had somebody else actually doing it for me. Mm-hmm. And it got to be a lot and it gets pricey too. So I was well, the better thing would be if I just get the groceries and you meal prep yourself.
Yeah.
Haven't quite done it yet, but, but I see how people would get into it and how it would be such a wise choice when you're on the go and you have all your stuff set for the week. I mean, it seems like it'd take a lot off your plate, I just haven't quite gotten to that.
So I'm going to back up a little bit to the benefits of dance. And, there's obvious benefits, works your core, works your endurance, works your coordination, your mind. Is there anything that if somebody came into dance, they would be, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I was going to get this out of it? it's like there's got to be like when I watch, I just realized how much harder it was physically, not just the moves and the coordination, but how hard they're working. Like they're working. It's a workout.
Oh yeah. I feel like in dance, you gain so many things. One of the biggest things that I felt like over, my period of life dancing that I've danced, was actually the friendships I made in the studios that I participated in. So that was huge for me. The interaction, the lifelong friends, that was huge. But overall, I mean, we're talking, muscle memory in your mind. Your mind, when you are visually learning that quickly and you are able to memorize and retain so much information, I feel like it's so sharp for your memory and your mind. I mean, I'd imagine just like other different things where you're memorizing things, but it is, if you get really deep into it, you are, you're memorizing so many different things, not just, your ballet, but if you're in jazz, if you take a tap, if you take a hip hop, so you're memorizing so many different sets of routines and movements. And I think it has something to do with it. I feel like I have a really good memory, and I just feel like that dance has helped keep it so sharp.
And see, I'm glad I asked the question because I didn't know an answer you were going to say, but I wasn't expecting that. And I don't know if a lot, there's so many parents out there that dance is obviously good.
Yeah.
But it's always nice to know what's that next
thing. Yeah.
What's that next thing that I wasn't expecting to get out of it?
Okay. Yeah, so absolutely.
That is nice to hear.
And of course you're exercising, which is good for you in general. You always feel better. I will say this, if I ever go into the studio and I'm kind of like slumpy or having a little bit of a bad day or whatever, and once you get in and just with the music and the energy and you start moving your body, 99.9% of the time, I leave feeling 1,000% better.
Right.
And you almost kind of just put it behind you and just like put it outside your head because you're so engaged in the moment and with the energy. And it's almost impossible not to be like upbeat and happy. So of course the moving and the exercise is just all around, good for your body.
Yeah. I had Lee from Fit Zone on, and she was mentioning that she's like, there's a lot of times I'm not up to go teach a spin class or a gravity class. I just don't want to be there. Not because I don't love the people.
Yeah, absolutely. But you're just,
you're not in it.
You're having a day.
But every time within 10 minutes or not even through the warm up, I'm there.
Yep. 100%. That is actually a really good point. It's the same with teaching, especially if you're engaged in your teaching and you're doing a lot of the movement with them.
Yeah.
Once you're in, and I mean, even if one person in your class you see is just invested in there, and most of the time they all are, because they're all there for exercise and to enjoy it and for social hour and, to learn dance. So it's true. Once you're there, like 10 minutes in, you start stretching and your body just forgets. I mean, there has to be something real about endorphins and, how they, it's always like, so you just start moving and you start going and it brings out a different part of your mentality and your body. I mean, your body responds.
Yeah. Because the more people I talk to on the podcast that are, either group exercise teachers or dance teachers or whatever, where they're teaching a group, they have to be up. You have to be positive. You have to have that good. I get to show up to my job. If I want to be grumpy, I can be grumpy. I'm not a grumpy person, but it's interesting to hear how people get themselves up on a day when they're just like, I don't really want to go do this.
You really
not that you don't want to go do it, but
everybody has days. Oh, totally. Of course.
Yeah.
It's really it's part of the position. I would imagine it's just like a school teacher. I mean, I guess you could be grumpy there. I actually do remember like some grumpy teachers like over the span of my life in school, but really it's you can't, when you're having conversations with, young children or even high school kids and then parents too, you have to separate and be in the moment. You truly have to be present in the moment. You have to shake it off. And then once you start moving anyway, you kind of just, you shake it off anyway. But I mean, that's a really good point. You really have to talk yourself out of the slump and into, okay, it's work time now. You're engaged. Part of work is engagement with people, people and children for the most part. So they're relentless. They're not, it doesn't matter, excuse me, teacher, I'm going to show you this. Excuse me, teacher, I have to go to the potty. And so it's like, it's just, you're like, okay. And then 5, 6, 7, 8, and you're just
you go through it. And it's in you saying that. I remember taking my daughter where she might be grumpy after, just not in a good mood after school. Every time after dance, she'd get back in the car, start telling me about her day.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yes.
You went in one girl, you came out another.
Absolutely.
Almost every time.
I believe it.
And it's so nice to see.
That is so nice to see. I believe it.
Yeah, you are doing great things there at that studio. So
thank you.
I've been asking guests at the end, are you working out tomorrow? And if it's hard to get it in, how are you going to get it in?
Oh, that's a good question. What's tomorrow, Friday? And you had me on a Thursday. Actually, I do think I'm going to work out tomorrow. Probably just treadmill at home. I don't think I'm taking any classes that I know of. Yeah. Although my girlfriend is really good about scheduling me classes for me, and then she'll text me that I'm scheduled for a class. So, which is amazing. Probably just treadmill tomorrow. I'd say 30 minutes of treadmill, and then maybe I we'll do my own push-ups and sit-ups, but not at a gym tomorrow, just at home. And it'll probably be in the morning.
All right.
Yep. Right when I get up, because the kids will be in school. Fridays, they're both in school. So Mondays and Fridays really work out for me well. Yeah.
And what are, somebody wants to send kids to dance school. How do they, Dancers Turnout on Instagram?
Yeah. Dancers Turnout on Instagram, Facebook, or we have a website, dancersturnout.com. And they just get on there and they can look at the class schedule. And if they need any information, they can email the dance studio or they can call. And absolutely, our summer program is going to come out on May 3rd.
Okay.
So anybody looking for something to do over the summer can absolutely, come try a class or sign up for one. And we'd love to have them.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, John. Thank you. Nice to catch up.
Thank you.